that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been making some pretty fishy trades, Jake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the timing of the trades are also very curious.
Yeah.
No, she was in a meeting at the White House, and she knew that Trump was going to do tariffs that were super steep. She walks out of that meeting and goes straight to buying treasury bonds, right? So I don't know which one of those it is, and it didn't have to be at the White House. She could get insider information. That goes to the main point that Anna's making, we've been making on the show for a long time. That's why it's problematic for members of Congress to trade stocks.
This is bad, not just oops bad, but you got caught doing something shady bad. And right in the center of it all is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She calls herself a voice for American workers, but her latest stock moves look like she had inside tips about Trump's sudden tariff plans. The timing of her trades is almost too perfect, like she already knew the script. Today we're breaking down what looks like insider trading dressed up as patriotism. Greene didn't just stumble on lucky picks, her trades lined up with big political shifts that shook the markets. And this isn't only about her. It shows how members of Congress often act like the biggest hedge fund in America. They can legally cash in on info regular people never see. So buckle up, we're diving into the numbers, the timeline, and how this so-called economic patriotism might actually be a scam.
Given what the government's been doing and this administration's been doing, it would not shock me, and I hate to speculate, if we were to find out that a whole bunch of people who work in Washington as our elected leaders, one way or the other, ultimately sold stocks last week, or potentially worse than that, shorted the market.
CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin may have been onto something when he shared his suspicion that government officials and elected politicians might have been gaming the stock market or gaming a stock market crash in order to, cash in, doing it to their advantage. Because new reporting from Sludge has found that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been making some pretty fishy trades, Jake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the timing of the trades are also very curious.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you how what scenario those trades might make sense and what scenario they don't make sense. And then we'll see which one Marjorie Taylor Greene fits into.
So look, you probably won't be surprised to find that publicly, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very supportive of Donald Trump's trade policies. She posts about it on X. She's done so repeatedly. I'll give you a taste of just a few of her posts. In one example, she writes, "America first means American workers first. These tariffs are Liberation Day for steelworkers, auto workers, and every forgotten small town. Empty factories will be full again. President Trump is bringing our economic independence back." Now, that's a common message that you'll hear from Trump supporters, certainly those closest to him and elected lawmakers as well. Now, let me just pause and say I'm still very skeptical that the real intent here by the Trump administration is to bring manufacturing jobs back. In fact, we're getting a little more clarity from his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, about how this is really just an effort to renegotiate trade deals. But I digress. So all of that I just shared with you in regard to her post are noteworthy because between March 17th and March 25th, Marjorie Taylor Greene bought up to $750,000 worth of Treasury bonds. Now, Jake, why would anyone buy Treasury bonds?
Because when the market crashes, people take their money out. That's why they're selling the stocks. That's why the stocks are going down. Then they have cash. Where do they put that cash? They usually put it in treasury bonds because they're safer. That's where you want to go in times that are volatile like this. So the value of those treasury bonds then go up. And we've now found out, thanks to Bill Ackman, a billionaire donor of Trump, that Howard Lutnick, his former firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, heavily in bonds and are probably making a killing from this. So when they went into bonds is a different question than this story, but it's another example of, well, if you know the market's going to crash, you're going to treasury bonds.
That's exactly right.
And that's exactly what she did.
And that's what she did ahead of Trump's tariffs announcement on Liberation Day. Okay, so she moves ton of money up to that amount, right? $750,000. The reason why we don't know the exact amount is because members of Congress, while they have to disclose what they're trading, they don't have to disclose the exact amount. They disclose a range. They say that they've, invested a range of money. Now, with that said, she invests in bonds right before the Liberation Day announcement But then something else happens. So let's go to Unusual Whales, my favorite X account. They write, this is unusual. Yesterday, meaning on April 7th, politician Marjorie Taylor Greene said that people panicking over tariffs are losers and failures. Today, she disclosed over a dozen stock purchases, purchasing purchasing hundred of thousands of numerous stocks. There we go. So she bought when the market was deeply red. So what kind of stocks did she buy? She bought stock in Amazon, JP Chase, Lululemon, Apple, and many, many more. And she bought up to $1.5 million worth of stock year to date. Now, all of this is especially concerning, when you consider that last week the president himself reposted a video essentially stating that he crashed the stock market on purpose. I'm not kidding. He posted this. Take a look.
Let's dive into Greene's trades and why they matter. This isn't just another political scandal, it's part of a bigger problem where Congress members can profit from the system they oversee. Between March 17th and March 25th, Greene reportedly bought up to $750,000 in U.S. Treasury bonds, a safe bet when a market drop is expected. Then, right after the market fell, she shifted and purchased over a dozen major stocks like Amazon, JP Chase, Lululemon, and Apple. The total could reach $1.5 million so far this year. The timing matched Trump's surprise Liberation Day tariffs, a move that shook the markets. Anyone with early knowledge could have profited heavily from that volatility. Greene's public persona focuses on political fights, not financial skill, which makes her timing suspicious. Publicly, she claimed the tariffs helped American workers, but privately, she invested in ways that benefited from the resulting market swings. That's why this goes beyond hypocrisy. It might signal insider trading for personal gain. And she's not alone. Congress members get private briefings and can trade stocks based on that info, only needing to report vague ranges. Without rule changes, this behavior will continue.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the US to bring grocery prices way down. We've already seen this with eggs. Now remember, 94% of all stocks are owned only by 8% of Americans. So Trump, he's taking from the rich short term and handing it to the middle class through lower prices.
Okay. Warren Buffett said no such thing. That was totally made up, and there were all sorts of inaccuracies in that video. But the
Can I just say, point out a couple of those, and then we'll get to the point. So he's not handing anything to the middle class. He's taking from the rich, but he's also taking from the middle class, because this is going to not lead to lower prices, it's going to lead to higher prices. That's the problem. If it was leading to lower prices, we'd be thrilled. And bragging about how you're weakening the dollar is not the brag you think it is. And that could be a huge problem for America. So this guy is playing with fire. That video had so many things that were wrong with it and just simply not true. And of course, Trump retweets it. And so it's frustrating that they're not bothering to get any of the details right. You could make a real case for tariffs, as we said before.
Because, look, this whole attempt to implement or impose tariffs isn't real, okay? Like, it's become very clear to me. We're going to get to that, and I'm going to make my argument in regard to that in just a minute. But before I do, I just want to stay on this topic of Marjorie Taylor Greene's stock and bond trades, because the timing is, in fact, fishy. This is the reason why I personally have a huge problem with members of Congress trading individual stocks. And it's not just about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want to be clear. There are plenty of Democrats in Congress who have also made all sorts of fishy stock trades at fishy times of the...
Now let's talk about these tariffs. On Liberation Day, Trump announced big tariffs on foreign goods, saying it would protect American jobs. In truth, it was like tossing a grenade into the economy. The market fell, investors panicked, and those with the right info acted fast, including Green, who had already bought safe bonds and then jumped into stocks during the dip. Maybe it was luck, or maybe it was insider knowledge. Green has loudly praised tariffs as good for America, but her trades suggest she saw them as a chance to profit from market swings. This goes beyond one politician. It shows a pattern where lawmakers can benefit from the chaos they help create. Many in Congress exploit these opportunities because the rules allow it. They can legally hold and trade individual stocks, and reporting rules don't show exact amounts. Even Trump's tariffs look like part of a larger financial plan to boost Treasury bonds, push the Federal Reserve to cut rates, and favor certain investors. While the public was told it was for workers, the real winners were wealthy insiders.
So Warren Buffett was mentioned in that video, so he's a good example. So he didn't say this was a brilliant move. In fact, he said the opposite. He's like, look, he's like, Trump is playing around with tariffs, that's playing with fire, so I think it'll hurt the stock market, so I'm going to get out, get in cash, and then when the market's slow, I'm going to buy again. And that's classic Warren Buffett, buy low, sell high, right? And no one else has the foresight to do it and the temperament to do it, and that's why he's been so successful. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's just anticipating Trump and being right, okay? So if that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene did, hey, you know what? I'm seeing everything that Warren Buffett is seeing and everybody else is seeing publicly, and I think this is the direction it might go, and I'm going to go in that direction. Now, there's a second scenario, which is, no, she was in a meeting at the White House, and she knew that Trump was going to do tariffs that were super steep. She walks out of that meeting and goes straight to buying Treasury bonds, right? So I don't know which one of those it is, and it didn't have to be at the White House. She could get insider information. That goes to the main point that Anna's making, we've been making on the show for a long time. That's why it's problematic for members of Congress to trade stocks.
Yeah, individual stocks, yeah.
Yeah, and so look, I could find exceptions. I could do we could have a reasonable conversation about what are the parameters of that. But what we have now is Wild Wild West. They're privy to information we are not privy to. And then they can just go trade on that, make millions, sometimes billions of dollars, depending on how much money they have and resources they have. So here's why, Elon got killed on this tariff deal and so many others did, because it actually was not easy to predict. Because the question was how steep are the tariffs going to be? Because if the tariffs were relatively light, the market had already priced that in, and it might have even bounced up a little bit if they were light. But instead of it being light or moderate, they were drastic. And so if you knew they were going to be that drastic, then you could make a killing like Marjorie Taylor Greene did. Whether she knew or not, we just don't know yet. But are these the actions of a person who knew? Yes. But she just might have guessed and been right.
Now look, there's another point of evidence that I want to bring up, because there's what the Trump administration was saying publicly and the conversations that they were having privately. Obviously, privately, you're going to get more clarity on what the intentions are here. Are these actual tariffs that the Trump administration plans to not only implement, but keep?
To make things even more suspicious, Trump's team sent mixed signals. His Treasury Secretary said the tariffs were temporary, while Trump hinted they might last a long time. This back and forth creates uncertainty, perfect for anyone with insider knowledge. If Green had private info about these plans, it's not just unethical, it could be illegal. This is America First rhetoric used to benefit the wealthy. Green's trades show how Congress can campaign against elites while acting just like them. This harms democracy because people lose trust when they see politicians profiting from the chaos they create. And unless rules change to stop Congress members from trading individual stocks, it will continue. Trump's tariffs weren't about helping workers, they were political theater that insiders could exploit. So next time a politician says America first, follow the money, it's probably ending up in their pocket, not yours. This is bad, not just oops bad, but you got caught doing something shady bad. And right in the center of it all is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She calls herself a voice for American workers, but her latest stock moves look like she had inside tips about Trump's sudden tariff plans. The timing of her trades is almost too perfect, like she already knew the script. Today we're breaking down what looks like insider trading dressed up as patriotism. Greene didn't just stumble on lucky picks, her trades lined up with big political shifts that shook the markets. And this isn't only about her. It shows how members of Congress often act like the biggest hedge